Mom's sick, so I came instead. Little girl walked into the job interview. What the millionaire CEO did next. Shocker Devarian, the morning sun, filtered through the tall windows of Peterson and Associates, casting long shadows across polished marble floor. Thomas Mitchell, 27, and impeccably dressed in his charcoal suit, sat behind the mahogany conference table reviewing Grisms for the third time. As CEO of one of the city's most successful consulting firms, he prided himself on running interviews with military precision. At exactly 9:15, his assistant knocked softly on the door. Mr. Mitchell, at 9:30 appointment. There's been a slight change. Thomas glanced up from his papers, his brow furrowing slightly. What kind of change, Margaret? Before Margaret answered, a small voice piped up from behind her. Excuse me, sir, Mom's sick, so I came instead. Thomas blinked, certain he was hearing things. He looked past Margaret to see a little girl with blonde pigtails, no more than 6 years old, standing in the doorway. She wore a pink dress with a grey cardigan, and in her small hands she clutched a folder of papers. I'm sorry, what? Thomas stood slowly, his usual composure momentarily shaken. The little girl stepped forward with servicing fits. I'm Christina Walsh. My mummy Sarah Walsh was supposed to come for the job interview today, but she woke up with a really bad fever and couldn't get out of bed. She said this job was really important, so I told her I would come and explain everything to you. Thomas found himself speechless. In 15 years of business, he'd encountered difficult clients, hostile takeovers, and boardroom battles that would make grown men weep, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. Margaret cleared her throat, gently shouted, I reschedule the appointment, sir? Thomas looked down at Christina, who was watching him with those wide, earnest blue eyes that seemed to hold far too much worry for Sumi, and so young. Something in her expression reminded him of his own childhood. Of that times his mother had worked double shifts just to keep food on their table. No, Thomas said quietly, surprising him. Steve, please have a seat, Miss Walsh. He walked around the table and pulled out a chair for Christina. Helping her climb up, she placed her folder carefully on the table and smoothed it with her small hands. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell, she said with careful politeness. Mummy taught me to always say please and thank you. The Thomas settled back into his chair, leaning forward slightly. Tell me about your mother, Christina. What kind of work does she do? Christina's face brightened immediately. Oh, Mummy is the smartest person in the whole world. She used to work at a big office before I was born, doing something with numbers and computers. But then Daddy got sick and couldn't work anymore, and Mummy had to take care of him and me. As she paused, her expression growing more serious. Daddy went to heaven last year. Mummy says he's not hurting anymore, but so many times I hear her crying at night when she thinks I'm sleeping. At Thomas felt something tighten in his chest. He'd grown up in boardrooms where vulnerability was weakness, where every conversation was a calculated move. But this child's honesty was disarming in its purity. I'm very sorry about your father, Christina. Thank you, she said solemnly. Mummy says he would be proud of how brave I'm being today. She opened her folder with careful precision. She made me practice what to say. She wrote it all down so I wouldn't forget them. As watched as Christina pulled out a handwritten letter, the paper slightly crumpled from her small hands. She began to read in a clear, practiced voice. Dear Mr. Mitchell, my name is Sarah Walsh, and I'm very interested in the accounting position at your company. I have 7 years of experience in financial management and a degree in business administration from State University. As Christina continued reading her mother's qualifications, Thomas found himself studying the child more than listening to the words. There was something remarkable about her determination. The way she sat up straight in the oversized chair, her feet dangling inches from the floor. When she finished reading, Christina looked up hopefully. Mummy also sent her resume and some papers. Thatcher, how good she is with numbers. She stayed up really late making sure everything was perfect. Thomas took that, scanning them briefly. Sarah Walsh's credentials were impressively worthy of consideration, but it wasn't the resume that was capturing his attention. Christina, he said gently, this must have been scary for you coming here all by yourself. She considered this seriously a little bit, but Mommy always says that when something is important you have to be brave, and this job is really important. Because she paused, looking down at her hands. Because of Somites we don't have enough money for growth, and Mummy pretends she's not hungry so I can eat more. The words hit Thomas like a physical blow. He thought of his own pantry at home, always well stocked of the expensive restaurant. He entertained clients without a second thought about the cost. How did you get here today, sweetheart? I took the bus, Christina said proudly. Mummy taught me which one to take and where to get off. She gave me exact change and made me promise to come straight here and then straight home. Thomas shook his head in amazement. At 27 he considered himself successful, driven, mature, but this 6-year-old had shown more courage in one morning than he'd displayed in months of comfortable routine. Christina, I want to ask you something, and I want you to be completely honest with me. What do you think about your mother? Her face lit up like sunrise. Mommy is the best mummy in the whole universe. She makes the yummiest pancakes, and she reads mysteries every night, and when I have bad dreams she lets me sleep in her bed. She works really hard at her part-time job at the diner, but she always makes Tomato help me with my homework. She leaned forward conspiratorially, and she's super smart sometimes. When I can't figure out me math homework, she explains it in a way that makes it seem easy. She says numbers are like puzzles, and once you know the secret, they all make sense. Thomas found himself smiling genuine for the first time in weeks. She sounds wonderful, she is, Christina said firmly, but she's been really worried lately. I heard her talking to Grandma on the phone, saying she didn't know how we were going to pay for my school clothes next month. That's why this job is so important. Mr. Mitchell, Mummy needs Simeone to believe in her. The simple words carried a weight that Thomas felt deep in his chest. When was the last time Simeone had needed him to believe in them? His world was full of contracts and negotiations, profit margins, and strategic planning, but believing in Simeone, that was something he'd forgotten how to do. Christina, I want you to know that coming here today was very brave. Your mother should be proud of you. Does that mean she gets the job? Christina asked hopefully. Thomas hesitated. The truth was he'd already made his decision the moment this extraordinary child had walked into his office, but there were procedures to follow, other candidates to consider, or were there? I tell you what, Thomas said, pulling out a business card and writing something on the back. I want you to give this to your mother. Can you tell her that I'd like her to come in tomorrow morning when she's feeling better? So we can talk. Christina took the card carefully, holding it like it was made of gold. Does this mean good news? Thomas looked into those hopeful blue eyes and made a decision that had nothing to do with business protocols and everything to do with the kind of man he wanted. Tobe, Christina, I want you to tell your mother that sometimes the best interviews happen when we least expect them, and today she sent the very best representative she would have chosen. Christina's smile could have powered the entire building. Really, Mummy's going. Tobe, so happy as Thomas walked Christina to the elevator, ensuring she had cab fare for a safe trip home instead of taking the bus. He realized something that had shifted in his chest. Thishel had reminded him of something he'd lost in his climb to success, the simple power of showing up for the people. Well, of that evening, Thomas called his own mother for the first time in might just hear her voice, and the next morning Sarah Walsh walked into his office, nervous but hopeful. He offered her the position before she'd even sat down. Your order, he told her, gave the most compelling interview I've ever witnessed. Some acts of love, Thomas learned that day, speak louder than any resume ever.